in the chat box. You can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, wonderful. So we have now 29 minutes. We did have 30 minutes, but you know how it is. Time flies. So we now have 29 minutes. So I'm going to just jump right into it. My name is Foluso Gbadamosi, and I am a bunch of different things, right? But my core 9-to-5 job is I'm the executive director of Junior Achievement Nigeria, which is a non-governmental organization that runs programs to empower the Nigerian youth. We are part of Junior Achievement Worldwide, which is an international organization. I'm also a Gallup Certified Strengths Coach. I'm also a John Maxwell trained speaker, coach, and facilitator. And I am a full-fledged extrovert, which you shall all discover as we go along today's session. Now, because I'm a full-fledged extrovert and because this is virtual, I need energy from you guys. So I need you guys to keep the chat box popping. I'm going to be asking a bunch of questions. This is going to be super interactive. So are you guys ready? Let me know if you are ready so that I know if I should continue or not. I need to see the energy in the chat box. I just need to know that you guys are, like we're all together here. And we're going to be talking about the art of networking. Thank you, Chisom. Chisom is ready to go. So is Tomiwa. Awesome. So is Joyce. Wonderful. Okay, Stephen. Oh, lovely. Okay, loving it. Well done, guys. Loving the energy. Okay, so because of time, I'm going to just jump right in. But remember that we're going to be interacting with the chat box, right? So I need for you guys, to respond as quickly as you can when I ask questions because of time. We don't have a lot of time, so let's make it work. Okay. So like I said, I'm going to be talking to you about the art of networking. And I have a question, and I want to see it in the chat box. When you guys hear networking, what do you think about? I want to hear from you guys. When you hear the word networking, the power of networking, your network is your network. People are always talking about networking. It's become a huge thing. Okay, excellent. Tomiwa says connection. Good. What else? What else do you think about when you hear networking? What comes to your mind? Okay, I'm seeing more of connection. Meeting people, yes. Chimdindu says cables. I feel you, Chimdindu, because it can also be cables, isn't it? Chisom says, I think about meeting people and building a kind of relationship with them. Excellent. Chimdindu also says MTN. You're actually very, very funny, Chimdindu. Ginka says community. Lovely. Now, when you think of networking, do you get afraid? Like, oh my God, I do not want to. Or do you feel like, yeah, I like to network, I like to meet new people, I like to connect, I like to form relationships. How do we feel? Do we feel good about it? Or are we just a bit apprehensive, like, whoa, I beg, I'm not even interested. I'm just curious to know the kind of people that we have in the room. Okay, some people are saying, very, very, very opposite people. Some people say they're very anxious at first, because she's very shy. Somebody says she feels good about it. Somebody says anxious at first. Somebody says feel good. Excellent. Somebody says indifferent. Somebody says it's a great task. Wonderful. So we have a good mix of people in this room. Introverts, extroverts, in-betweens, ambiverts, right? Wonderful. So let's go to the dictionary definition of networking. I love dictionary definitions because for me, it just always provides a context and a background, right? When you hear the word networking, according to the dictionary, good old Oxford English Dictionary, it says it is the action or process of interacting with others to exchange information and develop either professional or social contacts, right? So there's an end in mind, right? It is an action that leads to a particular end. And that particular end is we're either trying to develop professional or we're trying to develop social contacts. And obviously for many of us, there are so many different reasons why we might be trying to do so, right? But that is the dictionary definition of networking. And I think it's very apt because for me, that is exactly what networking is. Now, one of my favorite things in the whole world is to thyself be true. And it's a Shakespeare quote, from one of his many books and collections. And I really love it because just like the previous speaker was saying, it's so important to know yourself. I'm so big on self-awareness and personal development from a place of self-awareness, networking from a place of self-awareness, right? So you can already see from our chat box, even though there's only about 32 of us in this room, that we're all so different. Some people say that they're excited about networking. Some people are afraid. Some people are in between. Some people don't care. Some people do. So we're quite different. It's important in everything that you do in your life as an adult to be true to yourself. Now, being true to yourself does not mean that you ignore the things about yourself that are not great and, try to pretend like they are. No, it just means that you understand yourself, you understand how you are wired, and you operate from that place, right? I already asked the question, what does networking mean to you? And you guys already gave me great responses to that. So I'm not going to ask that again, but I want you to keep this at the back of your mind, not just for my session, but for the rest of these sessions, that you need to be true to self. There's many things that you hear, many things that you see, but being true to yourself is one of the most important steps of living a successful life and building success in anything at all that you decide to do. Okay, now I'm sure many of you have heard about the Myers-Briggs assessment before. Is there anybody here who has ever done it before? Anybody here ever done the MBTI assessment? Let's see you in the chat box. Just say yes if you've done it before. Anybody? Okay, Yinka has, lovely. V Tijani has. Anybody else? Do we have a few people in the house? Okay, there's a few of you that have. Wonderful. Now, I put the link there because some people might not have done it, and I think it's very important that you do go and do it if you haven't. It is one of the top personality assessments, and it's also free, right? So there's a lot of them, but this one is free, and so that's why I put it here, because I felt like it would be easier for everybody to just get it done easily without having to think about whether you wanted to pay or not. Now, what this assessment does for you is that it groups you by these 4 boxes that you see. So you see that there's a box that says EI, there's one that says SN, one that says TF, and one that says JP, right? The EI box lets you know if you're an extrovert or an introvert. Actually, most people are a mix, right? So what it will tell you is it will tell you the percentage. Now, extroverts are simply people that get energized by other people, right? So they love multitasking and they get energized by people. So people like me who are extroverts, we can enter a room of 1,000 people and we're so happy to be there. We're getting energy. However, an introvert, gets drained often by large groups of people. They prefer small groups, they prefer closer interactions, and might not be so happy to multitask like people like me are, right? And so what it tells you about yourself helps you determine how you network. Yeah. Because an extrovert can easily network in a large room full of people, can go to a conference with so many people. And introverts can also go there, but they have to probably take some things on themselves before they go there. They have to make some things work for themselves before they go there. And they might even need to go there with a close friend, somebody that can, help them stay connected and energized. Because if they just get thrown into a room with so many people, it's actually quite draining. I mean, I've seen some of my introverted friends just be like, listen, I can't, this is not helping me. But I've also seen the ones that have mastered themselves, who know how to energize themselves even when they are in those situations. And the same thing goes for extroverts. Extroverts in very, very small groups might not be as energized, right? But it's about understanding yourself and mastering yourself in order to know how you can build your networks, right? Now, the next box is SN, which is the sensors and the intuitives. And if you just read through it, I mean, you see what each of them mean, so the sensors are very realistic people. They like to focus on details and facts, practical problem solvers. Intuitives are visionary, they see creative solutions to problems, they focus on possibilities, the big picture, they see patterns, they're all about innovation. Now, all these things determine how you react to the world around you. It determines how you even react to yourself, quite frankly. So it's very important for you to know how you are if you don't already know. So if you're not sure, if you're an extrovert or an introvert, or if you're a sensor or intuitive and all of that, please take the assessment. So I'll tell you what I am. So I am ESTP. I am an extrovert, sensor, thinker, perceiver, right? So I am very logical. I'm very, very logical. 1 + 1 is always equal to 2 for me. I very rarely see like those gray areas. Like for me, it's like, why? You know what I mean? But once again, none of these are bad, right? Every single thing is good. It's how you were created. It's about you understanding how to manage yourself. Like I also told you earlier, I'm extroverts, right? So I get a lot of energy from people and I love to interact with people. I'm also a thinker, so I'm quite logical. I'm less of a feeler, right? So sometimes when I'm in situations that need high feeling, I know my friends who are high feelers and I do contact them, to kind of just help me out with that. Because once again, your network should be full of people who can fit different areas of your life and who you can leverage them, right? Leverage their talents, leverage their strengths, leverage their gifts, leverage them to achieve the things that you need to achieve in life. And the last box is judges and perceivers. So please take this assessment if you have not already. Okay, so let's jump more into the art of networking. Remembering that the art of networking is very, very much about understanding yourself. Please ignore the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. That was a mistake. It's not supposed to be there. Okay, so I have 2 questions for you on this slide. And the first one is, what type of people, situations, and events are you usually drawn to? So think about yourself. The times that you have attended an event, a program, a course, even at work, a meeting, where you have felt the most energized, where you felt great, where you felt like, yes, I can rule the world. What type of situations were those? I'm making notes of it. Now, what type drain you? So we're talking about the 2 ends, right? The ones that energize you versus the ones that drain you. So I want you to think about the ones that energize you and the ones that drain you. And if you can share, please pop it in the chat box. Just say, give a short summary of the type that maybe you have experienced a lot of energy from and the types that drain you. So I'll tell you the types that drain me. When I am in networking situations or meetings where people are very big on, just how they feel versus like reality. You know what I mean? For me, that can be a bit draining, because remember that I had said to you that I am quite, I'm a thinker, right? So for me, my personality type, can easily get drained by those kinds of situations. I love logical discussions. I love to be in meetings, networking events, situations where people are spitting out facts. You know what I mean? Like when people just say, I feel, I'm like, whatever. But that does not make it bad. Remember I said that we are all part of this world where all our different pieces kind of come together to make the beauty of the world. So we have to just understand ourselves. Somebody said I cannot see my screen. Oh dear. Can the rest of you see my screen, please? Okay, I think other people can see my screen. Joyce, I'm sorry about that. I would suggest that you leave the room and come back in. Okay, so we have an example in the chat box, and it says, when I am among those that I have more info than, and I'm also drained when I'm among those who know more than me. Okay, that's a bit interesting. I wonder why that is. So I want you to think more about different situations that energize and drain you. And now, Mutala, for you specifically, for your example, is it that they have more information than you and that's why they're draining you? Or is it that maybe they are very boisterous, big personalities who maybe talk a lot and you feel like you cannot get a word in? I want you to really think about it deeper than what you've said as to how it drains you, okay? Now, I want us all to think about creating a networking plan. Now, whether you're an introvert or you're an extrovert, you love to meet people, you don't love to meet people, whatever the case may be, whether it's easy for you or hard for you, creating a networking plan is a must for 2023, right? And the reason for that is that we have to be so much more intentional with our lives. The previous speaker spoke a lot about the power of intentionality. And honestly, we can talk about that for days. I think all of us know that it's important to be intentional. So number one, why do you want to network? What's your reason? So let's say that you have the opportunity to attend a certain kind of a conference or an event. Why do you want to go there? Number two, what are you trying to achieve? Number three, how will you go about achieving it? Now, the reason why this is important, especially for people who don't necessarily like networking, is that it helps you have a clear why. And even when you start getting drained or frustrated, you remember the why as to why you're there. Why am I here? Why am I here? Why am I here? Now, if you know that you are an extrovert, and sometimes if you're like me, when you're in a large room of people, you might have had maybe 3 people that you wanted to meet, but because you're getting so energized by all those you're meeting, you forget that, right? You have to have a clear plan. So you see that both extroverts and introverts have challenges when it comes to networking. It's just in different ways, right? Extroverts sometimes get lost in the crowd and forget their real aim and goal of being there. I always say that if I have a meeting and I don't have an agenda, when I start gisting with somebody, listen, we can be there for 3 hours and I'll just be like, Foluso, but the purpose of this meeting was what, you know what I mean? So I literally have to make it clear to myself the reason why I'm going for that meeting. Great. Now, what are you trying to achieve? Sometimes we go for networking events because we want to meet more people, because of a reason. Maybe we want to just expand our networks. Maybe we're trying to get a new job. Maybe we're trying to get to a new level. And we feel like the people that will be at that place are people that would inspire or motivate us to get to that level and all of that. And last but not least is how would you go about it? Now, how would you go about it has a lot to do with what, like the kind of events that you would go to, like how you present yourself even when you get there, like how you show up, you know what I mean? Like you know what I mean by how you show up. You know, there's a way that you show up to a place where you want people to understand and recognize that you are there and you want to meet people. Okay, so I have some great examples in the box. Somebody says knowledge sharing engagements energize them while clubs and parties drains them. Love it. That's a very intellectual person. Somebody says when I'm in a setting, I can contribute to meaningful. I feel energized and I feel drained when I cannot contribute. Aha, love it. And somebody says when I'm with those I can learn from. Sorry. Okay, so people that he can interact with and share ideas with energizes him. Now, what this is saying, if you kind of just skim through, and I'm sure many people have so many more examples, it just shows how different all of us are, right? And that's why I said it's very important to be true to yourself when you're networking. Don't just take any random networking tips that maybe might work for a different personality type and say, I'm going to use it. It might not work for you. So you have to be extremely intentional in being true to yourself as you do that. Okay, so now you've created a networking plan. What is next, right? There's a few tips I have here, and I have them because I'm conscious that there might be some people here who don't, who haven't really had the opportunities and who really just want to know, okay, how do I really go about this, right? So here are a few tips and a few steps, and you can mold them to fit your person, right? So remember, to thyself be true. You can take any of these and mold it to fit your person. So number one, so you've gotten to this event, you meet people, introduce yourself. Introducing yourself has nothing to do with whether you are bold, shy, introverted, or extroverted. No, it is a plan, right? If you're going somewhere with a clear mission, you must learn to introduce yourself. You can look in the mirror and practice if you must. You can phone a friend, you know what I mean? But you must introduce yourself and you must learn how to do it very well. So introduce yourself and then ask the person a few questions about themselves. That opens up the lines of communication. People love it when you ask them about themselves. It makes them feel good. It gets people talking. Even somebody who is shy, once you ask them about themselves, you just see that people just start talking, Next thing is be intentional about using positive body language. Please, please, please don't be at a networking session trying to interact with somebody and you're now using your phone, or you are clearly distracted and your eyes are all over the place, or you are turning your back to them. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way that we like to be addressed, right? And there's things that we don't like. So it's extremely important that we're intentional about our body language and having it be positive. Next, build your questions from what the person says, right? So the more the person speaks, build your questions from there. This is especially good for those who feel like they're not very good at asking questions, right? Just take on what the person says. If somebody says to you, oh, I work at a law firm, as an example, as a legal advisor or something. Oh, what kind of law do you do? Did you study law? Do you enjoy legal advisory work? Those are some leading questions that will lead the person to say more things. If somebody says to you, oh, I'm married and I have 2 children. Oh, what gender are your children? How old are they? There's a way that you can continue to ask questions from what they start with. Because some people, when you're talking to them, they literally give you like 1-word answers, like short. But guess what? The more you build on that short question, the more they will speak to you. All right, great. Now, number 4 is, as you start talking about yourself, also point out some things that you and the person may have in common based off of what they said. So let's say that, you also study law, as an example. You say, oh, I'm also a lawyer. Or let's say that you also have 2 children. Or let's say you have 2 nieces or 2 nephews. Oh, I also have that. The point is that you will always find a way to connect with people by finding something that is a commonality. It might even be a commonality that makes you different. So you can say, oh, wow, you are a lawyer. Ah, man, I really admire lawyers because I think that law is just so difficult. You know what I mean? Like, you can say it in ways that makes the person feel endeared towards you. Now, as that conversation comes to an end, bring the focus back to that person. And if you felt like this was a good conversation and you want to take it up, then ask for the contact details. In fact, I would say always ask for contact details, because I think that it's the polite thing to do, and make sure that you are also intentional about following up. It's so easy these days. You can send an email, you can send a WhatsApp message, a text message, and let it build from there. Okay? Great. So that's not us having a plan. Now, the key things to remember in the art of networking: please avoid the trap of talking too much or too little, especially when you first meet someone and you are the person that has an intention with that person. Don't forget that we have a clear why. We're not just doing things for no reason. We know why we're doing it. I'm trying to network to achieve goal A, B, C, D. So while you are working on it and you're doing it, you're remembering to yourself that there's a reason for this. It's not just in isolation. It's not just random. right? Number 2, get comfortable. Please be comfortable. Remember, I said to thyself be true. You need to be comfortable. It is your level of comfort that would actually help you network in a way that is authentic to you. You know, authenticity is so beautiful when somebody is just being themselves and it's comfortable. Now, depending on your type of personality and how you might be comfortable with or without, you know, networking or talking, you can even prepare opening questions. So let's say you are going to a networking event that's a professional kind of an environment, you know, you can prepare opening questions by maybe having 3 top questions that you will ask. Things like, oh, where do you work? Or what do you do? You know, or, oh, how come you registered for this conference? You know, like, what was it about the conference that was interesting for you? Even this program that you're on, you know, it's an online program, but you can ask people that you network with, oh, what made you register for this? You know what I mean? Those are the kind of things that get you also comfortable, because when you guys start kind of exchanging information about things like that, it kind of gets you at ease. So practice. If you are somebody who is not generally comfortable with networking with people or with asking questions. Now, ensure that the other person walks away feeling heard and good meeting you. Like, they just feel good about meeting you, not because they even have a plan, but just because, oh, that was a nice conversation with a nice person, because you showed interest in them. Remember, I said showing interest in people is a top way to really achieve, you know, this thing that we're talking about, because interest is just like, oh, wow, that person asked me so many questions and clearly was interested. Next, be curious by asking more questions. So just keep asking more questions. Engage others with a simple question like this. So that sounds interesting. Tell me more. So if you don't know what else to ask, oh, tell me more about that. Oh, that sounds interesting. Oh, so you registered for this program because your friend sent it to you. Oh, why? What made it interesting? Even though they sent it to you, I'm sure many of your friends send you things. Why was this particular one interesting? You know, and just continue to build off of that. Okay, so remember, I said to thyself be true. Please remember that always. Good luck on your mission of, you know, networking and meeting new people, but please remember that you must always be true to self. I really love this quote by Oscar Wilde, and it says, be yourself because everyone else is already taken. You know, the only way that you can understand, accept that you actually have a value is if you are self-aware and you understand that you yourself have something to give. Networking is about giving and taking, right? It's not a one-way street. You don't plan to meet somebody and you want to just take. You know, it goes both ways. So it's very, very important that you are yourself, and that as you're being yourself as well, you understand that you also bring value. You know, if somebody says something to you that you can help them with, why not help them? I'll give you so many examples of like me and just networking, right? I find that I'm a connector. I'm constantly connecting people, and it took me a while to notice it. But the moment I noticed it, I said, do you know what? Let me be more intentional about this, because this is clearly one of my superpowers, right? Like, I'm just great at connecting people. So whenever I meet people, my brain automatically just kind of, you know, puts them in like different boxes, right? So I know, for instance, if you message me today and say, oh, do you know somebody who can help me with so and so and so? The chances of me knowing somebody, or even if I don't know the person at the moment, or even if I don't know the names I can even provide to you, I know that if I step away from that conversation and I even just chat with a few more people, I'll come up with it and I'll come back and I'll help you. Because I also believe that it's very, very important for us to sow good things into other people's lives. Because I've connected people, I've had so many amazing things happening for me. I think it was on Thursday or so, I attended a program here in Lagos where I live. And a lady came up to me and was like, oh, thank you so much, Foluso. You helped me with something a few months ago. And I was looking at her like, what did I help you with? And she said, oh, that she had actually reached out to me to introduce her to a particular person who I know quite well, and that I introduced her to the person, and that because of that, she actually got funding for a program from that person. And I said, oh my God, that's so amazing. I'm so happy to hear that, you know, and I felt really, really good. The point I'm trying to make here is that there's something that all of us can bring to the table, and there's a way that we can always help other people, but we have to be intentional and we have to be true to self. If you're trying to be like, let's say that you're an introvert and you're trying to be like your extroverted best friend, or your extroverted uncle, or your mentor who you admire, who's extroverted, you're going to be drained all the time. Don't forget that extroverted people get energized by people. You don't. So you have to figure out a strategy to work for you when you are amongst big groups of people. Guess what? Introverted people are great with one-on-one relationships. Oh my goodness. Whenever I'm networking with introverted people, I love it because they are so intense. In fact, I'll give you another example. This same week, I was networking with somebody at a small event that I went to, and you know, he was just talking about different things. Actually, he was talking about golfing and some other stuff. Anyway, found out that he's the CEO of a power plant, and when I said the kind of work I do, he said, oh my God, that would be great for our CSR project. He wasn't all over the room talking to everybody, but the people that he was talking to, he was focused on them. And that's what I've noticed about introverted people, is that they are so focused, they are so great at building relationships because they don't necessarily get energy from everybody. So they are very happy to focus on one or two people, and they make sometimes bigger moves and bigger deals than extroverts because they are so focused, right? So please remember to do the assessments and to be true to yourself and to ensure that no matter what is happening, that being yourself is always the best way to go because everybody else is taken. Excellent. Thank you all so much. I want to recommend this book. Some people have DM'd me, sent me private messages asking me about books. This is a great book. It's a really, really old book. It's by Dale Carnegie, but it's been reprinted, redone so many times. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a really good book for people who are really struggling. So please check out that book. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? I think I have about 4 minutes left. Do we have any questions at all? Let me know if you have any questions. You can either pop them in the chat box or you can raise your hand up. Let me know if you have any questions. And thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed having this discussion with you guys. Okay, so we have 2 questions. One is from Abiodun. Okay, so Abiodun, can you go ahead and unmute and ask your question?
Yeah, hi. How you doing? My name is Abiodun, and I just don't have any question really, but just wanted to say great presentation. I think as a connector myself, and I think myself also as someone that likes to network, I think this is an absolute great presentation for anyone that's looking to really know how to connect with folks and keep those relationships. Absolutely very important. I also wanted to mention, I think your in-laws with Bimbo Gbadamosi, I think, yeah. She's a friend of mine, and Larry also, yeah.
That's my sister-in-law, yes, amazing. What a small world. And thank you for your kind words. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
No
Thank
worries.
you, Abiodun. Awesome, yeah. Thank you. Okay, so next we've got Henry. Henry, can you go ahead and unmute and ask your question, please?
Hey, good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yes.
Yeah, very wonderful and insightful presentation. I have a question, maybe a bit personal. How can you establish a relationship or a connection with, let's say, someone way above your status, and you guys don't have like any relationship, there's nothing linking both of you like directly. So let's say, for example, you have a friend, and the cousin of your friend is like a commissioner in his state, and you're trying to like connect to the commissioner, maybe even form a relationship and all of that. But your friend now does not really have like a direct relationship to offer an introduction. And even if he offers an introduction and then you go to the office, like, what do you say? How do you just establish a relationship, strike up a conversation without, feeling like you are interfering with the person they do? And I don't know if you get the point.
I get your question so much, Henry, and thank you for asking that question, because I'm sure many people have a similar one. So yes. I'll tell you, based off of personal experience and even what I've seen work, even with me, right, is this: if you want to meet somebody that you feel is, way like out of like your networks or your league, or as it were, first of all, what is your reason for wanting to meet that person, right? So not just that because the person is a commissioner, okay, why? You know what I mean? Because those kind of people tend to be super, super busy. So if you do have a chance to meet them, maybe you only get like 5 minutes, 10 minutes to really say what you want. Because we live in the digital age, we now have the opportunity to know where people will be speaking, where they will be. In fact, it's one of those things that for me is so amazing about this time, that you can almost find anybody that you're looking for. I know people who have gone to events with the sole purpose of meeting one person, and they make sure that they have planned and prepared themselves. So like you now, this person has a connection to you, but that connection to you is not strong enough. If it's a commissioner or somebody like that, where is the person going to be? Are they going to be at a hotel at a conference? Are they going to be at Federal Palace? Are they going to be at the airport in Ikeja? Where are they going to be? Are they going to be in Abuja? Depending on how much you need to meet that person, you now make a plan. But remember, the most important thing, my time is almost up. The most important thing is that when you meet the person, you clearly tell them why you want to meet them without sounding like somebody that wants to leech, right? So when you're speaking to them, you have to make it short, sharp, and also explain how you can also bring value. So if it's something to do with maybe you want them to help you with something in, I don't know, with like your work, or maybe you have something to offer them, then you say quickly and you make it clear what your ask is. I think always be clear about your why and always be clear about your ask. That is what the best way to win people of that level over. And don't forget to read the book I mentioned as well. I think that book would also be very, very helpful. Guys, I'm so sorry, but our time is completely up. There's a bunch of questions, but please send me a private message. My email address is also on the screen, my LinkedIn and my Instagram. Feel free to